voters consistently list the economy as one of the top issues driving them to the polls.
It's not your imagination, but grocery prices are again going up.
Immigration and the U.S. southern border were among the top issues for voters this election cycle after last year's record number of illegal crossings.
The economy and immigration are two of the biggest issues on the minds of Americans.
This is probably the most expensive aisle. Outside of the meat department, this is probably the most expensive aisle.
But we rarely get a look behind the scenes to see how these two key forces in American life intersect.
What about wages?
If immigrants are playing a complementary role, then it's going to have a positive impact on job creation, on wages and everything else. If they're competing, it's going to have a more negative impact.
And CBS News Race and Culture and CBS Reports reveals the connection between immigration and food prices.
Overall, about a 15 or 20% increase the last 2 or 3 years in dairy in general. It can have a knock-on effect that eventually results in even higher pricing.
By following the journey of the people.
If you really want it, you have the drive and you want it, you can make it happen. And I haven't seen that in any other country.
Both legal and undocumented.
Can your farm survive without immigrants?
No, it would be the end of dairy farming here.
Bringing America's milk to market.
This is an impressive rig you got.
We see how this staple touches the lives and kitchen tables of nearly every American.
The milk doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. It cannot be a stop.
Nobody wants there to be undocumented workers in the United States. The idea of having a population that is not here with permission, that may be living in the shadows, that is more easily exploited, which is bad for them and bad for the Americans that they compete with, it's bad for the economy as a whole. All of those are huge problems that we need to address as a society.
Jeremy Robbins is the former head of the New American Economy, a bipartisan coalition of business executives and city mayors focused on the economics of immigration reform. He now leads the American Immigration Council.
At the same time, there are workers who are coming here who are filling gaps in our economy, who are working essential jobs.
What industries are supported by undocumented workers?
Almost every industry is supported by undocumented workers, and almost every state is supported by undocumented workers.
I'm in America's Dairyland, Wisconsin. It ranks second in terms of milk production in the U.S., and we are right now headed to a farm that we understand relies on immigrants from Mexico, and that appears to be common here in the state. According to one study, roughly 70%, a majority of the dairy farm workers here are living in the country illegally.
In a rural town 3 hours northwest of Madison, Wisconsin, is John Roseno's dairy farm. Roseno is a fifth-generation farmer whose family has worked this land since 1857.
How many cows do you have here, John?
We have 320 in this barn, a total of 620 that we're running through the milking parlor every day.
So more than 600 milking cows?
Yep.
That produce how much milk?
Approximately 47,000 pounds a day, or about 5,500 gallons.
Milk is the most consumed dairy product in the United States, and farms like Roseno's contribute to Wisconsin's $53 billion dairy economy. Nationwide, the dairy industry creates 3 million jobs throughout the supply chain, according to the International Dairy Foods Association.
Can you walk us through the process from start to finish on producing milk here?
The cow has her first calf at 2 years of age. At that point, she starts producing milk in her udder. We then start milking her with our milk machine in our milking parlor.
Each cow must be milked 3 times a day, with the machine sanitized after each use. It is a 24-hour, 7 days a week operation.
It takes one person for every 40, 45 cows.
And who is doing all of this work?
All the work on the farm, 90% is done by immigrants.
Did you ever think when you were a child in Mexico that you would be here in Wisconsin in the middle of nowhere, really?
I think all kids have dreams of becoming firefighters, police officers, or something like that. I had never imagined this, and now I'm here.
Kevin is a 21-year-old undocumented migrant worker from Mexico. He crossed the border 3 years ago to join his father, who has been working on Rosno's dairy farm for more than a decade.
How many hours a day do you work?
10 hours.
It's a long time.
While being outside, perhaps the cold, but time goes by quickly.
Most of John's employees live on the property, in a school turned into apartments.
What does your daily work shift look like?
I wake up at 8, 7 in the morning, get ready, and go to feed the cows. When I'm done, I prepare more food for the next day, and then I do what I'm told.
You start at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yes, on Saturdays and Sundays.
It's a difficult job.
Sitting inside the tractor for 5 hours is very exhausting.
It's very low-skilled, very hard physical work, and you can make more money working in fast food. So it just isn't, there's not this huge group of American workers who are just waiting to come in and put on their overalls and start milking cows.
Ruth Conniff is the editor-in-chief of the Wisconsin Examiner and author of Milked: How an American Crisis Brought Together Midwestern Dairy Farmers and Mexican Workers.
Most of those dairy farm workers who are immigrants are undocumented.
That's right.
Why is that?
As farms had to grow to 300, 500, 1,000 cows just to stay in business, many farmers tried hard to find local workers for their farms and didn't have a lot of luck finding Americans who wanted to work from 4 a.m., shoveling manure, milking cows, long shifts. But what they did find was that there was an immigrant workforce that was doing seasonal labor who were very interested in staying longer. And so slowly, that immigrant workforce became absolutely essential to Wisconsin dairy farms.
People say there is an open secret, if you will, here in Wisconsin, that a lot of the immigrant farm workers are here illegally, undocumented.
To me, it doesn't matter. These are people that are willing to do a job that nobody else will do.
What does their legal situation look like?
I am required as an employer is to look at the documents that they present to me. And the law says that you look at the documents, and if they appear to be genuine, you accept them.
You don't think that you are displacing American workers by hiring immigrants here?
I'm 100% sure of that. I have people come to apply for a job, but they're all immigrants. In the last 20 years or so, I maybe had 2 people show up to apply for a job that were native-born Americans, and probably 150 immigrants have come and applied for a job. And the 2 that applied never came back.
So you have tried to hire American workers?
Oh,
you have tried?
Lots.
How much money do you make here?
$1,300 every 15 days.
What you make here in a month, how long would that take in Mexico?
A year.
Kevin's family depends on the money he and his father send back. Yet Kevin's long-term goal lies south of the border.
What is your plan here in the U.S.?
Work, save money, and return to Mexico. The plan is to build a house and go back to Mexico.
That is your dream?
Yes.
Are you scared about President Trump's promise to deport undocumented immigrants who are living in the U.S.?
Yes and no, because 4 years ago when he was the president, he said, "I'm going to deport everyone." But it never happened. We've seen videos of a family of 5 being arrested, and it was the sheriff police from this county who arrested them. And that is the fear, that they could detain me too. But I have not felt fear since then.
There's a bit of uncertainty still.
There's a tiny
Que algo pueda pasar, that something could happen.
yes, yes, yes.
The worker who has been here the longest has been working here for 25 years?
Yes.
Wow.
I think we've become a culture where we think agricultural work, farming, milking cows is beneath us. It's not honorable work in the eyes of most people in the country.
That's not the case with the immigrants, you're saying?
Immigrants find it as a honorable profession.
Since hiring your first immigrant worker in 1998, you really haven't looked back.
No, not at all. It's just, I wonder why I didn't do this in 1978 or 75 or something. Why didn't I do this sooner?
What would happen here on the farms if all the undocumented workers are deported?
The cows would explode. The udders.
You don't think that's going to happen?
No, I don't think there's an American that would say, hey, I want to milk a cow that the Mexican milks.
Can your farm survive, John, without immigrants?
No, no. It would be the end of dairy farming here. I would have to adjust my life somehow, and I'm not sure I could do it, but I'll have to.
For the dairy industry, there is no right way. There is no visa program to come here and work on a dairy farm. There are some temporary visas for to work in farms, but they tend to be, you have to be here for 10 months, you have to go home. You can't tell a cow to stop milking for 2 months, right? That the dairy industry needs workers, they need to be here all the time.
One of the arguments to keep undocumented workers in the U.S. is to ensure that prices stay lower, that wages don't balloon. You know, if you have to get that American worker to do the same job, you might have to pay them twice as much. How problematic, though, is that argument? Because it does imply that you are paying these people less, and that's a good thing.
There is no amount that you could pay to fill our agriculture industry's jobs with American workers and still have products you could sell at the supermarket. There simply are not enough Americans who are willing to take those jobs. And if you can't fill that job, then you can't have a cow to milk. And what ends up happening is several things. The price of milk increases, which impacts every consumer, but also the jobs around those workers. So you think about managers, you think about purchasers, you think about people who do transportation. In so many ways, not being able to fill that workforce has huge downstream economic impacts.
When Americans say the phrase farm to table, they rarely think of the mode of transportation. Over 3 billion tons of agricultural products are moved across the U.S. every year, with trucks carrying the majority of that freight.
This is an impressive rig you got.
In California, America's #1 dairy producer, Manuel Castro from El Salvador plays a vital role in getting milk to market.
How long have you been doing this?
About 10 years.
I guess most Americans, if don't really think about where the milk comes from and all the transportation involved.
There's a process, and this process is 24 hours every day. No holidays.
So you work through all the holidays?
Yes, we work through all the holidays.
So you've been here in the States for over 30 years?
Yeah, about 30 years.
How long ago did you get citizenship?
Since 2009.
So this is the first leg of the journey from the dairy farm. You are a critical piece of moving that to market.
It's gonna be even more drivers to get it to the store.
Manuel has just loaded nearly 5,000 gallons of milk into his tank, and from here it heads over to a processing plant before making it to the store.
5:30. By job number.
Manuel drives for Moga Transportation, a company with humble beginnings that's grown over the last 2 decades into a fleet of dairy haulers.
So we start this business, I still remember first day, June 1st, 2013. We bring one truck here, but we always want to make this company big. We always have a dream.
He's driving Uber right now. Harwinder Singh Brar and his wife Prab Gill are the co-owners of Moga Transportation.
How large of an operation do you have now? You started with one truck.
Yeah, we have close to 90 truck.
Wow.
So, and we recently started last year in Indiana, 3rd terminal. Our plan to growing more in the milk, and also with construction, we have some dump trucks also.
Harwinder is known as Happy to his friends and family. He's a Punjabi Sikh from India who came to the US in 1998 with his field hockey team. Instead of returning home, he stayed and sought asylum because of the religious persecution he faced in his home country. With just $100, a month's worth of clothes, and his field hockey gear, he set out to build a new future.
We a minority in India, we always feel like second-grade citizen, you know. But when we come here, people advise that we apply asylum. We lucky we got a first day we got our asylum approved.
Wow. First day?
First date.
Oh, first
court date.
First court date.
That rarely happens these days.
Yeah,
not now.
Really lucky. I was the first guy in my group, my friend circle, who got a asylum, like in first court date. And I was the first guy who got a license, truck license. As soon as I got my work permit, I start truck driving. I work only for a year and a half in 7-Eleven. After that, all my life around the truck.
Gill immigrated from London, and when she met Happy, he was driving a dump truck for a living. They got married in 2003, had 3 children, and began to build their business from the ground up.
Why trucking?
Because that's most of our community do. That's feel like if I don't have any degree, right? So I can only one thing, I have a confidence and hard work.
Back in the day when they started, they didn't even have to communicate that much. So it was easy, and it's good money. So you were getting good money for the hours you were putting in.
You've had employees for 10 plus years. You must treat them well.
Yeah.
Them to stick around.
We try. Wait, this is my family. They are no employees. They are family to us.
46% of California's truck drivers are immigrants, while only 27% of the state's overall population are immigrants.
What do you think would happen to the economy, to our lifestyles, without this labor?
Well, trucking would shut down because it's primarily immigrants now. It's changed so much. Since we've been married for 20 years, I've seen it from 70% white drivers is gone down to 20% white drivers.
Wow.
This country give us all the opportunities which one India never did. So I respect, I love this country.
You know, you're here as a migrant, you built a life for yourself, and you've created opportunities for your children that you didn't have. That's the dream.
Yeah, and that's thank you to this country. My 17, one time he told me, I want to be like you, I want to drive trucks. And I said, no, you need to do something better than me. Not just driving.
Truck driving is such an important part of our economy, and everything that our lifestyle depends on is the work you do.
Yes.
But you want bigger dreams for them.
Yes, yes, yes.
Once the milk arrives at the plant, it's ready for the next step in the supply chain, to be pasteurized and either continue as milk or be processed into another dairy product. A study by the National Milk Producers Federation indicates that eliminating immigrant labor would double milk prices.
It's about working hard. These people wake up 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning. They go out. You know, they finish around 11, 10 at night. The milk doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
What does the path to citizenship look like? And what percentage of the people that are here that are undocumented do ultimately become citizens of this country?
For most undocumented workers and undocumented immigrants, there is no clear path to become a citizen in the United States. Or you would have to leave for 3 to 10 years and then come back. If you come here and you get married, you could become a citizen based on the fact that if you're married to an American citizen. But for many undocumented immigrants, if you've been here for a period of time, and depending on how you entered, there's something called 3 and 10 year bars. You'd have to leave the country. Think about the act of coming here is an entrepreneurial act, right? You are taking a risk. You're going somewhere you don't know anyone, and you may not speak the language. It's going to make it harder for you to get a job. And both of those forces push people into starting a lot of businesses. So immigrants are way more likely to start a business, and that has a huge impact on the economy, right? They're hiring American workers. They're paying taxes. They're creating economic activity and flow. They're keeping streets safe because you don't have emptied out businesses.
New York State has about 3,000 dairy farms that collectively produce over 16 billion pounds of milk every year, making the state the 5th largest dairy producer in the country. Once that milk is trucked away from the farm, this is one possible next stop in its journey.
So that's all milk?
It's all milk. Just been pasteurized. It's like a boiled, cooked milk.
See the steam coming on.
Sanjeev Modi is president of Rajbagh Food, which uses milk and other raw ingredients to produce processed and packaged foods across their 5 separate operations.
How hot is that milk?
The milk is about 105 degrees at this point, and it's at the right temperature where the cultures will grow inside of it.
Here, they pasteurize the milk, heating it to kill bacteria, then turn it into yogurt, which they ship to grocery stores or use to manufacture packaged meals.
So when you open this product, you'll see that it has a firm body. You see how firm it is?
Oh, wow.
You see how it holds? It's an all-natural product, no gums, no stabilizers, no pectin.
Modi says this facility produces 20,000 pounds of yogurt every day.
What you should be tasting is a smooth, velvety, rich, creamy.
Very velvety.
Yeah.
So velvety.
And creamy and a slightly acidic, gives you the tartness that hopefully keeps you coming back.
Modi is a second-generation immigrant, and he runs the company with his brother. How did you get into the milk yogurt business?
My parents started a business almost 30 years ago where we made Indian sweets, traditional Indian sweets.
Your parents came here to the U.S.?
Correct. They immigrated from India. Actually, Dad came first. He got his master's degree, went back to India, got married to my mom, brought her here as well. And then my brother and myself were born. And, very big focus on education to kind of pursue that American dream.
One of Sanjeev's customers is Saffron Road Foods, which makes sauces, snacks, and frozen entrees sold at grocery stores like Walmart and Whole Foods. Tim Haran is Saffron Road's head chef.
Test Kitchen's fun. It's very scientific. Then over here we have our butter chicken. Butter chicken traditionally at restaurants is full of butter, full of cream. Yes, I actually just tweaked this recipe recently to up the cream, up the butter, make it even more restaurant quality.
Am I the taste tester?
Here, come over here. You this is our butter chicken.
Thank you. All right. That was really good. This is one of my favorite dishes. So
yeah, it's a #1 seller. So
Adnan Durrani is Saffron Road's CEO. He started the company in 2010. What inspired Saffron Road specifically?
I thought, wouldn't it be neat if we created a food brand that took really the different cultures and ethnicities and diversity of that Silk Road and brought it into really the mainstream America.
Adnan legally immigrated from Pakistan with his diplomat parents when he was a child. After years working on Wall Street, he became more interested in social entrepreneurship and switched to the food industry. How much of your own journey as an immigrant played into how you're here today?
We wouldn't be here today at Saffron Road if it wasn't for my immigrant journey. A lot of our employees here are from different immigrant communities, and they bring that authenticity and that diversity of culture and that really celebration of the different types of cuisines that they've experienced in their family home and their family meals to come in and help devise those meals.
One of those immigrants is Director of Commercialization for Saffron Road, Lulu Gardner. Lulu immigrated to the U.S. from China, receiving her master's degree in food science from Cornell University in 2014. She was hired on an H-1B visa and has worked for Saffron Road for 10 years. She's now a U.S. citizen.
It's a little bit hard for food science background graduate to find a job in the United States. And for me, I'm very lucky to find a company that was willing to take on, even if they don't understand what is the E-verification, H-1B at the time. We're such a small team, and they were willing to give me a shot.
Adnan estimates about 50% of Saffron Road's product line contains some form of dairy, including yogurt, cream, or butter. When it comes to milk-based products, what price changes have you seen?
Overall, about a 15 or 20% increase the last 2 or 3 years in dairy in general. It can have a knock-on effect that eventually results in even higher pricing on the shelf.
When people say immigrants are taking jobs from Americans, what's your response?
I don't see how that's factually true at all. It just doesn't make any sense. I think if you look through history even and what's happened in this country, and there's been studies on going back over 100 years, how immigration has consistently fueled the industry.
If the number of immigrants goes down, how does that impact the price of your product?
It impacts it dramatically. You're going to see trucking go up, and as a result, it will result in a lot more inflation of simple, staple products like milk and eggs and bread and so on.
Durrani says when mass-producing meals, even small price fluctuations can make a big difference. Saffron Road's frozen entrees are made in New Jersey at another one of Sanjeev Modi's facilities, which can produce up to 20,000 packages per day.
Yogurt acts as a natural tenderizer to the meats and the poultry and all. For example, when we're making the biryani sauce, our typical batch size is about 3,000 pounds. And in that sauce, we typically add about 550 pounds of the day yogurt into it, which is what gives that sauce that nice creamy, little bit of tart, acidic flavor.
How important is the immigrant community to your pasteurizing plant, to your employee workforce?
The company has a lot of employees. We hire all types of people, but the immigrant community is very helpful in our product. They understand the product line already. They have some affinity to it because they grew up around it. So that whole immigrant workforce is a part of our company and has helped us grow. We operate with that small business mentality, so a lot of the employees become a part of our extended family.
By and large, if you look at the places where immigrants are going, those are places that are thriving and are growing and creating jobs. We have had more immigration than the rest of the world for the last multiple hundreds of years. And that's been a huge boon to our economy. We've been able to grow faster, we've been more innovative, we've been able to fill key jobs. It's kept our workforce younger. undocumented immigrants pay billions of dollars in taxes every year. They pay state and local taxes. They pay sales tax every time they buy a good. If they're working, they're also paying into Social Security, and many of them will never, ever be able to draw that money down. And so they're huge net contributors to Social Security, to Medicare. Now, undocumented immigrants also use services. They do use hospitals, and they use emergency rooms, and they use schools. So there are some scenarios where they are a cost on society too. But there are two ways that they have impact. So one is the benefits they bring against their costs, but the other is by working in an industry and making that industry more competitive and creating American jobs.
What are some of the most common things that you sell?
Well, it is a milk, eggs, and tortillas.
Luz Hernandez owns El Progreso supermarket here in Atlanta, Georgia. It's just one of her 4 grocery stores, which her son Marvin helps manage.
This is probably the most expensive aisle. Outside of the meat department, this is probably the most expensive aisle.
In the whole store?
In the whole store.
Lou says they order nearly 300 gallons of milk a week across all 4 of her stores, on top of all the other dairy products and frozen foods they stock.
What was the price of milk when you first opened your first store compared to the price that's now sitting on your shelves?
Well, whatever you pay for a 4 gallon in 2013, you pay for 1 gallon today. Some customers, they used to take a 1 gallon. They take a half gallon now because of the price.
While the government sets the price most milk processors must pay dairy farmers, it doesn't regulate how much processors can charge stores for milk or how much those stores charge customers.
I remember one time the prices skyrocketed in milk, maybe like $2. So we were supposed to go up to, I think maybe $9 a gallon.
Wow.
So we didn't go up on it. We just literally stayed how it was, and I think we're losing like 60 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
Would you say this is one of your busier stores?
It's one of the busy, and I have another is actually more busy than this one.
Luz is an American citizen now, but her journey began at the southern border when she was 16 and made the trek from her native El Salvador. She spent 5 years living in the U.S. as an undocumented immigrant, juggling a variety of jobs. She gained her residency in 2001, then became a citizen in 2012, and not long after, made enough to open her first store in 2014.
Why did you decide to move to America?
Well, I decided to look in the better future for me and for my child. This is a good country where you can do a lot of things, which in my country I'm not able to do it.
Luz says her stores generate about $4 million in revenue, most of which goes back into the economy by paying her suppliers and employees.
How many people do you employ?
64.
And that's across all 4 of your stores?
Yes.
How many of your employees are Latinos?
All Latinos.
How many of them do you know are undocumented?
50%.
Who did you vote for in the last election?
For Donald Trump.
Was your hope that if he was elected president, he would be able to improve our economy?
That's what we're waiting.
You voted for President Donald Trump because of his stance on the economy.
Yes, because economy is one thing and immigration is another thing. And you have to, like an owner, decide what is more affect right away to my customer.
And you think that food and prices matter more to them than whether they could get deported?
And I always say, the food is so important when you see they struggling to buy the food. ¿No quiere bacon? Pues bacon so good for you. No. Lo que sea.
This house just outside Atlanta has been home for Luz for the last 4 years and a place for her family to gather and make memories. But her daughter, 22-year-old Deanna Ruiz, says she worries whether she'll be able to do the same.
Sometimes she'll say that I'm probably not as advanced as I'm supposed to be in life financially, because when she was coming up, when she got here, financially she was in a better place. And now, due to all the inflation and all the problems after COVID, I'm kind of just backtracked.
Luz and her son Marvin say it's the same sentiment they hear from their customers.
This was the strange part. Customers weren't, their question wasn't like, hey, if Trump wins, are we going to get deported? No, their first question was like, what's his plan to fix the economy?
Both of these issues are such a big part of your life. The economy as a business owner, but immigration as an immigrant yourself. How difficult is it for you to balance your feelings on both of these issues?
It is hard. You see both sides, no? I always try to be motivating my employee, my customer, when they say right now, what's going to happen so with us? Economy, we are not legal. I try always motivate to them, but if I honest myself, they're right. They have much to worry.
History has shown that we are a stronger country when we let people in, and together our communities rise because we have all the talents and the hard work.
What about wages? How do undocumented workers impact wages as a whole?
It depends on the industry and it depends on the job. If immigrants are playing a complementary role, then it's going to have a positive impact on job creation, on wages and everything else. If they're competing, it's going to have a more negative impact.
There's also a housing crisis in America. What's the impact of undocumented immigration on this housing crisis, both when it comes to availability and prices?
One is you have more people who want those homes, and there are only so many homes. But the second and sort of countervailing force is you have more people who can build those homes. And if you were to remove all undocumented workers today, it's true, you would have fewer people who were looking for homes, but you would also have far fewer people who could build homes.
Even if it is the case that the disrupting the status quo might lead to a shortage of goods, higher prices, and other challenges, do you think there's validity to the argument that a system that relies so heavily right now on undocumented workers is untenable?
I think there is a huge validity to the idea that we should not have a system that relies on undocumented immigration. We should have a system where there's a real legal path to get to the workers that our economy relies on.
What are the solutions here? How do we harness the benefits of immigration and minimize the aspects that Americans had at the forefront of their minds when they went to the polls and the ballot boxes?
We absolutely need to take control of who comes here and who doesn't. We need to set up a system, and we need to enforce our laws and make sure that if we're going to say immigration is great for America, that we are making those decisions ourselves. Number two, we need to reform our legal system so we have real channels for people to come here. So you will not find a single farmer who doesn't say that we could have an agriculture system without immigrant workers, but there's not a functioning visa to meet those demands. And the third is we need to recognize for people who have been here who are undocumented, there needs to be an earned way for people to say, hey, I am going to get right with the law, I am going to get some legal status. And if you do those three things, you will have a system that works, and we won't have a system where there is a huge undocumented population.
When you hear about politicians deporting all illegal immigrants, what do you think?
What makes this nation great really is that immigration. I approach it not from a political lens, I approach it from a business point of view. You look at whether it's Forbes, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg's economic analysis, and they've all talked about how immigration has really been the engine that's driving our economy. And the more of them that we give us a path for immigration and green card to, the stronger this economy will be.
Is there any credence to the argument that people who are hiring undocumented immigrants are rewarding illegal behavior?
I think what people that are hiring undocumented people are doing is getting something done that Congress hasn't gotten done. Don't blame the rest of us out here in the country that need to get the work done and get the food on the table.
We're seeing new policies taking effect. What do you think of efforts to deport illegal immigrants here, migrants here?
Yeah, that's a tough question because our family immigrated to the U.S. legally, went through all the processes and procedures. You want your kids to go on to college. We're not raising our kids to work on a factory floor anymore. So who's going to do the work on the factory floor? Because that has to be done as well.
What is the American dream to you?
What I have. No limit. American dream is no limit. It's up to you. What you arrange, you can go that far.
If you really want it, you have the drive and you want it, you can make it happen. And I haven't seen that in any other country as much as America.
The immigrant worker is really, really needed in this country. And we just have to find a way to make sure that everybody's happy.
Right.
The immigrant that wants to come work and earn a living, the right way instead of doing something they're not supposed to be doing. And also the people that are already here that are like, hey, we feel that they're not paying the fair share for this or whatever reason. So you got to find a happy medium and keep both sides happy.
Your father was a dairy farmer, so he was a part of this process from the very first stage. And here you are, sort of a part of that same process at a much different stage.
Farmers, dairy farmers, they're probably the most underappreciated positions, but the most important positions we have in America. And my granddad did it for like 50 years. But now that we're doing this and I just reflect how hard it was, it just makes you appreciate it a little bit more. Like have a lot of appreciation for it.